Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today is finally the day where we finish off Bo Burnham's Make Happy with, I think there's one little bit and then the finale song and then like a little ending song or whatever. So a lot of you guys suggested I do all of the rest in just one video, so that's what we're gonna do. And of course, if you've been enjoying the content and the videos, you know, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button. It really does help out a lot. Okay, here we go. Finale.
It's
Make
about...
Happy. What's the show about?
Mute this. But for real, what is it about?
What's the show about?
It's about performing. I try to make my show about other things, but it always ends up becoming about performing. I started performing very young, as a teenager, you know, professionally, and as a comedian, what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to talk about what you know. And what I knew always was performing. So to talk about traffic or laundry felt incredibly disingenuous, but I worried that making a show about performing would be too meta, it wouldn't be relatable to people that aren't performers. But what I found is that I don't think anyone isn't. Could we get the house lights up for a second? And could you let the lights on stage, let the artifice fade away. Now we're all the same. I mean, you're all facing this way still. You know, I look out at you and it's a very diverse crowd. I mean, more European than I would have hoped, but we'll get there. I look at the young people, you know, and I feel like I was born in 1990 and I was sort of raised in America when it was a cult of self-expression, and I was just taught, you know, express myself and have things to say, and everyone will care about them. And I think everyone was taught that, and most of us found out
Nobody
one
cares.
gives a shit what we think. So we flock to performers by thousands because we're the few that have found an audience, and then I'm supposed to get up here and say, follow your dreams, as if this is a meritocracy. It is not, okay? I had a privileged life, and I got lucky, and I'm unhappy. They say it's like the me generation. It's not. It's not. The arrogance is taught, or it was cultivated. It's self-conscious. That's what it is. It's conscious of self. What the social media? It's just the market's answer to a generation that demanded to perform. So the market said, here, perform everything to each other all the time for no reason. It's prison. It's horrific. It is performer and audience melded together. What do we want more than to lie in our bed at the end of the day and just watch our life as a satisfied audience member? I know very little about anything, but what I do know is that if you can live your life without an audience,
That's a weird shot.
you should do it. And now you're thinking, how the fuck are you gonna dig the show out of this weird hole? Oh, you want me to be funny and make a point? Nah. Batman. So, how do we do it?
Man, that's really true, you know? Like, social media really started blowing up in 2010, I remember, because it was my freshman year of college. And I just remember it being like, I don't know, it seemed really empowering at the time. And you know, it said that was their solution to a generation who always wanted to perform and like self-express or whatever. And so they're like, here you go, do it. And you know, it's kind of like, welcome to the internet, right? Like that was like, I think I remember seeing a study how like suicide rates really started to go up more after 2010, you know, from the release and like the really big like just burst of social media with Instagram and Twitter and, you know, even like Facebook and all that stuff. Facebook was around before then, obviously, but so yeah, you know, the answer to, you know, a generation that has always been taught to, you know, express themselves and say what's on their mind because, you know, people will listen, but then it kind of ends up really being the opposite at this point, just because it is so saturated and stuff. Like there's too many people to listen to, right? And then, you know, the few that do end up garnering an audience, it doesn't necessarily lead to happiness. You know, that's kind of what you strive for and kind of what you wanted when you start out, but then you find out that it's not really the answer. And so, I mean, Bo makes a good point where it says, if you can live your life without an audience, do it. And that says a lot, you know, about his mindset and his relationship with his audience that he's been vocal about before in the past. It's really weird for me saying this right now as I'm talking to all of you. Man.
Nah. Batman. So, how do we do it?
How are we gonna dig it out of this hole, Bo? This shot is weird. Like, this is kind of weird. It's kind of a jarring shot in the middle of it all.
We do it like this. I went to Kanye West's recent tour, the Yeezus tour. It was a big, dramatic, theatrical show. He did something very strange at the end of his show where he ranted for like 20 minutes. It was kind of a rant, kind of a song. He had auto-tune on his voice, and there was an instrumental in the background. Like this instrumental. Talked about his problems.
How convenient.
Race. Power. His $90 t-shirts weren't selling very well. That was most of it. And I watched this. I thought maybe I could do this. I'll be honest, my problems are not as high stakes as Kanye's, but I have problems.
Love this.
And maybe a crowd in New York would be nice enough to indulge me. So as we get to the end of a night of theater and comedy and sweaters coming on and off, I got one question for you.
Is he referring to the continuity thing?
And that
sweater?
Question is,
I don't know why my camera's blinking. I'm sorry, guys.
can I say my shit?
Wow.
New York, can I say my shit? I got lots of shit to say. I got lots of shit to say.
Okay. So really quick, God, is this gonna be like All Eyes on Me? Because it's already very similar, or should I say, you know, All Eyes on Me was like this because, you know, it kind of has the same. He's using auto-tune. In All Eyes on Me, it was more of a formant shift of his voice. This is auto-tune. And, you know, the instrumental is already like hitting me. Like as soon as the light came on, I got goosebumps. And, oh God, this is going to be rough, isn't it? Another thing I do want to say already is that auto-tune is a tool to, like, you know, correct your pitch. But you have to still be a decent singer for it to sound good, or else it'll just be really like warbly. And the fact that he is already like making it sound decent, especially with that high note, and having it like hold that note the whole time instead of like, you know, warbling a little bit, like it takes skill to do that. It's not like auto-tune isn't just like, it's not gonna just fix all the problems. Like it does, you have to be a decent singer for it to sound good. Oh man.
I got lots of shit to say. I can't fit my hand inside a Pringle can. I have a huge amount of trouble fitting my hand inside of a Pringle can. I can get my hand like 4 inches into the can, but then I have to tilt the can into my mouth. But by that point, a bunch of crumbs have accumulated at the bottom of the can, so they all go spilling onto my face. What I'm trying to say is the diameter of Pringle cans is way too small. I'll say it again, the diameter of Pringle cans is way too small.
These are his little problems.
2 radiuses of a Pringle can is way too small. If you feel me, put your hands up. Come on. If you feel me, put your hands up. Look at all these hands that are way too big to fit inside a Pringle can. Your hands are too big to fit inside a Pringle cans. Your hands are too big to fit inside a Pringle can. You think you can? I know you can.
Is he?
You think you can? Pringles, listen to the people. I am sure 90% of the complaint letters you get are about the width of your cans. Just make them wider.
Is he controlling some of the sound? Because like even certain words like have the little echo, like reverb and stuff, like more than the other phrases. And it kind of, he's like looking down. So I'm wondering if he has like a foot pedal or something down there. That's crazy if he does.
think you can. Pringles, listen to the people.
Right there,
I am
Pringle,
sure
Pringle,
90% of the
Pringle.
complaint letters
But
you get are about the
when he's
width of your
talking-
cans. Just make them
He
wider.
doesn't do it there. Make him wider.
I've overdone the Pringles thing. Sorry. I wanna have a daughter.
Like that,
Wanna
like
have
that.
a daughter. So I can finally have someone around the house who can fit their hands in a Pringle can. Yes, I'm still on the Pringle can thing. Yeah. I'll move on, all right? But that is priority numero uno. I don't go to the gym because I'm self-conscious about my body. But I'm self-conscious about my body because I don't go to the gym. Irony can be so painful. That's a catch-22. Let's do this.
So, I mean, the whole Pringle thing could definitely be a metaphor, and knowing Bo, it's 50-50 knowing Bo, whether it is a metaphor or it just completely pointless, doesn't mean anything, right? Because, you know, he does make a lot of songs or have lines in songs that it seems like it's referring to something, but you guys have told me that he has said in the past that it really doesn't mean anything. It's just, you know, part of the song. But on the flip side of that, Bo always does have deeper meanings to a lot of his songs that, you know, it doesn't really seem like it on a surface level, but then, you know, once you think about it a little bit more, you're like, yeah. So let me think about the Pringles thing for a bit.
That's a catch-22.
See, that's hard to do.
Let's do this. I went to Chipotle.
Oh man, the strings.
Went to Chipotle. Got
Chipotle.
myself a chicken burrito. I went down the line, I got like all these ingredients, and then at the end of the line, the guy tried to wrap the burrito, but half of the shit inside the burrito spilled out. He still wrapped it. I was like, dude, you should have warned me. You're a burrito expert. You should have told me halfway through, hey man, you might be reaching maximum burrito capacity here. Do you think I want a messy burrito? No one wants a messy burrito. The whole appeal of a burrito is that all of the ingredients are contained within the confines of the tortilla. I wouldn't have gotten half this shit if I knew it was gonna fit in the burrito. All right, look. I wouldn't have got the lettuce if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wouldn't have got the cheese if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wouldn't have got the peppers if I knew they wouldn't fit. I wouldn't have got half of it. Like, I'm okay with small mistakes. If you got no more chicken, I'll take pork. But I'll blow my dad before I eat a burrito with a fork. Wouldn't have got the lettuce if I knew it wouldn't fit.
Oh my god.
Cheese if I knew it wouldn't. Wouldn't have got the peppers if I knew they
Wow.
wouldn't. Man, I wouldn't have got half of it, half of it.
Arpeggios.
Half of it right now. I think it's time that we break it down.
So again, with the metaphors with Chipotle, like he says, you know, he talked about his problems like Kanye being like race and power, and his $90 t-shirts weren't selling very, very well. And then, you know, he says, I got problems too. They're not as big as Kanye's, but, and then he goes on to talk about Pringle cans being too small, and you know, his Chipotle burrito being like too messy and like overflowing and stuff. If we're talking about metaphors here, I feel like knowing what I know about Bo from inside and his relationship with his fame and his success, I guess, and knowing that he's had all that and he still isn't necessarily happy. I mean, he talks about with the burrito, he talks about how he, you know, goes down the line, gets all these ingredients, and then, you know, tries to wrap the tortilla and it spills out. And then he says, you should have warned me. You were the expert. You should have told me, like, hey, maybe you're grabbing too many things here. Maybe you're accumulating too much stuff here all at once to try and fit. So I don't know if the ingredients could be like fame and money and just all these different opportunities all at the same time, like too quickly, and it gets to the point where it's too overwhelming, and he can't hold all of it. He can't like he says, you're reaching maximum capacity here, and maybe it was too much. It was too much to handle. But the Pringles thing, I guess, could be something kind of similar to where like he's trying to reach the Pringles. The Pringles maybe could be the same thing, like fame and money and opportunities and all of this stuff. And he can't reach it at first. So what he tries to do is tilt the can into his mouth to get everything that's accumulated, but then it just spills all over his face. Kind of like the same thing with the burrito spilling out. Like it's just too much at one time, right? Like you get, you're kind of eating with your eyes and not your stomach, right? Like sometimes it seems like you want all this stuff, but then once you get it all, you're like, man, this is too much. Like I overestimated here. And I will say, like, oh man, like the lighting and the production and everything has been like so good throughout this whole special, but like this song right now is like on another level with the smoke and the way that he's using the lighting and just like the instrumental. It's getting progressively like more and more complex. With the first, it just started out with like the like kind of like the organ type thing, and then it adds in like the piano, like the dun dun, like the little random notes. It's kind of ominous, honestly. And then the strings come in with the chipotle, like, oh man, it's just getting more and more complex, and it just sounds so good. And then with the lighting, and it did at the very end there, he was controlling it, because like when they got that pepper, it gets a little bit higher, and then would it or whatever, like it gets a little bit lower. So it did look like he was like twisting something there. So he is controlling it himself. So that's really cool. Oh man, he says it's time to break it down now. So let's watch this part again. This part was sick, dude.
Before I eat a burrito with a fork, when I got
The arpeggios.
If I knew it wouldn't. When I got the peppers, if I knew they wouldn't. Man, I wouldn't have got
Yeah, he's moving it right there.
half of it, like half of it.
He's got a fan blowing on his face.
half of it right now. I think it's time that we break it down.
So amazing, man. Just the production is so good.
I can sit here and pretend like my biggest problems are Pringle cans
Oh no.
and burritos. The truth is my biggest problem's you. I want to please you, but I want to stay true to myself. I want to give you the night out that you deserve, but I want to say what I think and not care what you think about it. A part of me loves you, part of me hates you, part of me needs you, part of me fears you. And I don't think that I can handle this right now. Handle this right now. I don't think that I can handle this right now. I don't think that I can handle this right. I don't think that I can handle this right.
I don't think that I can handle this right.
Is
Look at them, they're just staring at me like, come and watch the skinny kid with a steadily declining mental health, and laugh as he attempts to give you what he cannot give himself.
Think that I can handle this right. I don't think that I can handle this right. But they don't even know the herb of this right.
But they don't even know the herb of it. But I know I'm not a doctor, I'm a pussy. I put on a silly show. I should probably just shut up and do my job, so here I go. I wouldn't have got the lettuce if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wouldn't have got the cheese if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wouldn't have got the peppers if I knew they wouldn't. Wouldn't have got half. You can tell them anything if you just make it funny, make it rhyme. And if they still don't understand you, then you will run it one more time. Think that I can handle this right. Oh, handle this right. Oh, handle this right. But you don't even know the half of this right now. Right now. Handle this right. I'll handle this right. Handle this right now.
Thank you. Good night. I hope you're happy.
I'm already like kind of sick, so this is not helping. But oh man, I didn't want to pause during any of it because that was just like, yeah, there's a lot to take in there. You can sit there and pretend like his biggest problems are, Pringles and a shitty burrito, but the biggest problem is his audience and his fans. And I mean, he's expressed this before, so you kind of already knew, but he wants to please them, but he also wants to be himself and say what he thinks and not have to worry about it. And he wants to know that, it's himself as a person that is bringing happiness to people. So he wants to stay true to that. He doesn't want to necessarily censor himself or change who he is, because then it would just feel fake, right? And it said, I thought it was interesting when it said, part of me like needs you and loves you, and he made the voice high, but it sounded a little more like, maybe it sounded a little more, I don't want to say pathetic, but especially with like how it kind of warbled a little bit, like need you, like it does make it sound more vulnerable, I guess. So he's expressing, his love and his need and his want, but in turn, it does make him seem more vulnerable. And then, the fear and the hate was a lower pitch, which, is obviously a lot more darker sounding, and, didn't sound as vulnerable because it's not necessarily as vulnerable of an emotion or a state of being, I guess. I think the part that kind of hit me the most is like his frustration. Like he put it all out on the line there. Like he just left it all out there. And you guys have told me that this was the last special he did before his 5-year hiatus, between now and between then and Inside. And so it's like he really like took this show as like a way of like, he went out with a bang. Like I feel like he knew that he was going to take this big break before he did it. And this show was his like kind of his, I mean, it's really just like a letter of honesty to the audience, right? Like he says, like, come and watch this skinny kid with a declining mental health. God, what was the line? Watch the skinny kid with the steadily declining mental health and laugh as he attempts to give you what he cannot give himself. Obviously, that's happiness. And that's just really sad. I mean, they always say comedians are some of the saddest people, and, that's why they're comedians, because they don't want people to experience the same things that, that unhappiness that they feel. So they want to make others happy. And then he even takes shots at himself, like, I'm not a doctor, I'm a pussy. Like, I'm not a respected individual like a doctor or somebody like that. I'm just a comedian. I put on a silly little show. So you guys don't really care what I'm saying because, I'm just a joker. I'm a jester to you. And if they don't understand you, you just run it one more time. Like, again, that just shows his frustration of like, it seems like he's trying to say these things to his audience, but a lot of the times it just goes over their head, right? They're just laughing and clapping at, and then the funniest thing happened. And woo, ha, 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 that's so funny, but the dude was talking about COVID and like being depressed, like it's just stuff like that. Like he just must feel so frustrated to the point where he just you know, does this and just puts it all out the line on there. And another thing, man, this shot was so beautiful. Let me go back to it. Just gonna shut up and do my job. And this, like, it makes me think, like, you can't, it's just a silhouette. You can't see him. It's like he's just like an empty shell up there. He's just a shadow, just like a figure. Just, you know, you can't see a face. You can't see any features. It's just a silhouette. So it's just like he's just up there doing his job, you know, because he should just shut up and do his job because, you know, it's just to make people laugh or whatever. So maybe he feels empty up there, you know? And then, of course, this part.
Just make it funny, make it rhyme. And if they still don't understand you, then you will run it one more time. Then I can handle this right.
And then, okay, with the lights and everything here, he's having a panic attack, isn't he? Like, I know I'm all over the place with this stuff, guys, but there's so much to talk about because there's so much to this part of the show, I guess. But, I mean, with his screams at the end, he's shaking. Like, you can see his hands shaking, and his screams are like, they don't sound like scripted screams. Like, especially one of them, it seems like he's like really choked up. And with the lights and everything, and his gestures, like, is this the panic attack that he's having on stage? That one was fine. And that one's like a little break in the voice. And the lights are being all crazy. Shaking right there.
Handle this right, I'll handle this right, handle this right now.
Thank you. Good night. I hope you're happy.
And he says, I hope you're happy. Is he saying, I hope you're happy, like, look at what you did to me? Or, like, is he genuinely, like, hope that, you know, his show made people happy? It could be both. I don't know. This is the house from inside. You guys were some people had mentioned that the ending here was the same as inside. It's just a cool tie-in, I guess.
Oh, good, it's just us.
It's just us. Don't make me cry again, Bo. It's a beautiful song.
Now the show is done. I hope that you had gut trembling or something resembling fun. And if you watch this thing alone, you probably didn't laugh, but maybe a few times you exhaled out of your nose. If you hated it, that's
I'll give you a
fair.
laugh.
But either way, could you find a little more time for a parting questionnaire? On a scale from 1 to 0, are you happy? 'Cause you're on your own from here, so are you happy? I'm open to suggestions. Are you happy? But what the fuck kind of question is, am I happy? I really wanna try to get happy, and I think that I could get it if I didn't always panic every time I'm unhappy. Like I'm owed some life where I'm always like happy, which is stupid because I wouldn't even want it if I got it. Wait, oh God, my dad was right. So if you know or ever knew how to be happy, on a scale from 1 to 2 now, are you happy? You're everything you hated. Are you happy? Hey look ma, I made it. Are you happy?
I'm happy. I enjoyed it. Oh. A British flag on the in there? What is it? So that's his girlfriend and their dog, which you guys told me about. He looks happy there. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that last song was interesting. I mean, it reminds me of Don't Want to Know a little bit, where, you know, he asks these, he says out loud the questions that he wonders about, but he doesn't really want to know the answer. But I mean, I think in this case he does want to know if, you know, this special made or at least helped with, you know, the happiness of whoever's watching. But he says on a scale of 1 to 0, which is, it's not a very big scale. It's basically you have two options. So it's either a yes or no. Are you happy? And then he says he thinks he could be happy, you know, if he didn't always panic when he was unhappy. You know, I think that's probably what he worked on in those 5 years before COVID hit. And then, you know, it kind of regressed a little bit. And there was a line, he said, it's like he's owed a life where he's happy, but he wouldn't even want it if he had it, because that means a life where he's happy probably isn't a life where he's doing what he loves, which is performing, right? Like, it just kind of comes with the territory. It's kind of sad if you think about it that way, because I mean, he's sacrificing his happiness, you know, to make other people laugh. Like, it seems like in his mind, you know, those two things can't coexist. Like, he can't be happy and also, you know, be a performer. It probably just isn't the same because of the content of his art, or like the, you know, the style. And then at the end, he switches it up. He says, on a scale of 1 to 2, are you happy? Which is still, you only have two choices, so it still kind of seems like a yes or no. But the scale itself, you know, went a little bit higher from, you know, 1 to 0 to 1 to 2. Maybe it's like the first one's a yes or no, and the next one is, you know, a yes and maybe a little more yes. I don't know. And in the very end, he talks about, you know, he's talking about himself at the very end. Like, you're everything you hated now. Are you happy? Like, maybe growing up, you know, he would look at people in a similar position as him and not necessarily like it, but didn't know that was the path that he was heading down. And then, you know, hey, look, Ma, I made it. Are you happy? Like, even though, you know, I'm famous, knowing how I feel, like, are you glad that I'm here where I'm at? Which I doubt his, you know, I'm sure his parents, you know, support his mental health and like help him out, or try to, and, you know, support him and try to be there for him and stuff. And they probably don't care about, you know, his status at the cost of his mental health. But again, I will say at the very end, he did look happy with his girlfriend and his dog. So it looked like he was smiling. He was kind of walking kind of funny. I don't know what that was about, but man, that was a finale. That was a finale for sure. Well, guys, that was it, man. I'm glad that you all suggested I do the whole thing in one go. I know it's a super long video. It's a lot to take in. I paused a lot. I talked a lot, but I hope you guys, you know, got out of it what I got out of it. And, you know, you still enjoyed the reaction and everything, with how all over the place it was. But man, I have to say, I need to go watch this again, but I would probably say that is my favorite so far, especially like the Kanye Rant. Are You Happy was good. The piano was beautiful, but man, the Kanye Rant, just everything with the music and the sound of it and the production and the message. There was a lot of different parts to it that, like, when it just comes together, man, that was extremely powerful. That was it. That was Make Happy, guys. I hope the special made you happy. I hope my reactions made you happy. You know, I hope you got out of it what I got out of it, like I said. But as always, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm not sure where we're headed next, but I'm sure it'll be great. See ya on the next one, everybody.